Hey everybody, what is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome. This is the first live stream ever on this channel, which is exciting. It's fantastic. Say hi when you arrive. We got let's see, Ivan C in the house. What's up, Ivan? I'm gonna see if we can put some comments on the screen. It looks like we can. Darwin in the house, Danielle, Athlon, Dahunzi, John, welcome guys. Sergi, Brendan's here. Totally Renz is here. Saul, Odanaka, good to see you. Okay, we got Andre, Steve, D123, Anja. We got a lot of OGs in the house. This is fantastic. This is an exciting day. It's an exciting day. I don't have an agenda for this live stream or notes or a plan of any kind. It wasn't scheduled until 5 hours ago. Essentially, when I opened the doors, I knew a lot of people were going to purchase and come in. There's a lot of newcomers, and I just said, you know what? I bet they would just enjoy and appreciate a little walkthrough. Like, hey, how do I get started with this thing? Like, I'm new here. Plus, this is obviously recorded, so as people continue to come in over the subsequent days, I can just point them to this, and I can just say, hey, here's a little bit of a nice little walkthrough. It is going to be long. I'm going to spend an hour and a half with you guys, 2 hours, mainly because we're not just going to sprint through things. We'll just kind of make it nice and casual. I'm going to go through this pretty much as like a brand new user. It's like, okay, I'm installing it. I'm like, what are the actual steps to get something on a page? Like what, and then what can I do with this thing? What should I play around with? What should I experiment with? What can I see that's different from what I might see in other tools? And then obviously a lot of people are gonna have questions. We're gonna answer as many questions as we possibly can. The rule for asking questions is that you use hashtag Q in front of your question. That way I can find them and then I can answer them. They go into a little queue. So hashtag Q your questions, or they probably will not get answered. And you can ask them at any time. They won't get lost. I'll be able to go back and find them. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I am going to share my screen. Somebody recommended, because I use Dia now with the sidebar, like I can put myself in the little sidebar. I'll never be covering up anything important. Isn't that fantastic? I wish I could find a way to make maybe be tall. I don't know, whatever. We'll leave it like that. Okay, 8 p.m. best time to join this stream. Yeah, I figure, this should be pretty good. Like people on the West Coast, it's not too early. People on the East Coast, take a little siesta and watch the live stream. People in Europe, your day is almost done. You're just chilling out, hanging around. It should be good for a lot of people. So, all right, let's go ahead and dive in. I've got essentially a local install here, and you can see if we go to the front end that this is default WordPress, right? I believe this is like the 2024 or 2025 theme. And so if you are a new user, just like with anything else, you are going to download and install in your account the theme and the plugin. There are two of them, okay? It's very important. There is the Etch plugin, which you are going to want to activate. So Etch is now active. You are going to want to go to a themes and appearance and activate the Etch theme, which is essentially a placeholder theme. It just enables us to communicate with the block editor and FSE land. It doesn't really do anything beyond that. You can do 2015 or not 2015, don't do 2015, 2025, 2024, any block themes will actually work with Etch. But they all come with their own opinionated nonsense. Etch doesn't have any opinions in the theme, okay? And so it's not going to manipulate your experience with Etch. And then themes are really irrelevant in WordPress now that we have a unified development environment. There's just no point to really even think about them all that much. So essentially the idea is you install this theme, you never come here again, you never think about it ever again, you don't touch themes, it's just themes are just irrelevant to what you do now, okay? The plugin does everything that you need. If you're an automatic CSS user, it is compatible. I'm gonna start without automatic CSS because for people that experience it without automatic CSS, you're gonna wanna understand why things look maybe different or behave differently from when you watch me do tutorials. That's one disconnect. Like people, oh, my sections don't have any padding. My section, okay, well, I'll explain all that. I'll just walk you through all of that. And then we have Advanced Custom Fields Pro. You have the ability to create some simple custom fields in Etch so far. A lot of that functionality is coming along very quickly. But a lot of people were concerned, you know, when we announced custom fields and custom post types and things like that, they were like, oh, the Etch is going to be the only way to do it. You're not going to be able to use ACF or MetaBox or anything else. Well, actually, that's not true. You can use advanced custom fields. I mean, we have support for, we could test it together, actually. I mean, all the normal fields, image fields, I believe repeater fields even work. I know for sure that ACF relationships can be queried. I would say, I haven't seen anything that doesn't work. Let's just put it that way in ACF. So, and I believe the same is probably true for MetaBox, just because the way we've architected the ability to loop through data, which you guys will see and experience here, you know, there's not a lot of limitations. So, yeah, let's just take a look at, well, we've got sample page and privacy. I always trash this, by the way. I don't know why they give you that by default. It shouldn't be a page, actually. It should be within a CPT. Okay, we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to go off into that tangent, but I delete it, okay? And then we go right here to sample page, which I also immediately put as home, okay? And I'm gonna save and I'm gonna go back and then I'm gonna go to settings, because this is the fact that WordPress doesn't do this for you. It's kind of annoying, all right? So if you're new to WordPress, right, I would recommend doing that. As you get started with Etch. Okay, so now we're gonna go to pages and then we're just gonna get into the builder. So the thing about Etch that you have to understand is it is a unified visual development environment. That means your entire workflow is unified. You don't have to go to a bunch of other places. And what that means from the jump is you don't have to like choose a page to get into. So where a conventional page builder, you might be like, oh, I want to create an about page and edit that. Well, you create the page here, and then you'd have to go into that page in the builder. That's not how Etch works. If you look up here, just anywhere in WP admin, you're going to see this launch Etch. You can just go into Etch from anywhere. In fact, that's what I recommend you do, right? Whether it's the front end or the back, just go into Etch, because when you're in Etch, you can do all the other things you need to do. So I'm just going to hit launch Etch here. And we're gonna, oh, you know what I need to do too? There we go. Okay, good. I've got to pull up cursor over here because I am on a local install, and I got to make sure like npm run dev, all that stuff is, I probably should have done that ahead of time, but it looks like we're doing okay. You're gonna see a bunch of like core, on that sample page, we should probably go back and explain this. They put a bunch of nonsense on this page, right? That you don't actually need. You can delete it here. You can delete it in Etch. I'm just explaining why it's gonna show up. Like, see this in Etch? Like, you're like, where did all this stuff come from? It came from Gutenberg. Etch is pulling that in from Gutenberg. WordPress put all this stuff in Gutenberg by default. You don't need any of it, which is why you should just delete it. So just click the trash can icons and get to here. This is essentially what you want. You wanna get to your blank slate. No Gutenberg crap, no nothing, right? And this is just kind of the, WordPress is WordPress. Like, this is the stuff that they do, okay? I wish they wouldn't, but it's what they do. And that's why I'm doing it from scratch, because you're gonna run into these things too. I want you to understand, we didn't put a bunch of paragraphs there for you, okay? That was Gutenberg that did that. That was WordPress that did that. You should get rid of it. You don't want any of that stuff. Because you're not building your page with the block editor, and it's not a blog post. This is not 2007. This is 2025. I'm trying to build an actual page here with like sections and divs and things like that. So let's get rid of the nonsense paragraphs. This is where you want to be with your blank slate, okay? Now, when I mentioned you can go anywhere, do anything from here, let's just take a look real quick. And I don't want to rehash the entire walkthrough video that I already published on this channel. There is a walkthrough video that goes step by step through every single piece of this interface. We're not gonna rehash all of that, okay? We're just gonna get to like, how do I build stuff and how do I do stuff? But I do wanna direct your attention to the Content Hub right here. So when I am in the Content Hub, this is going to essentially load this is like your CMS right here, okay? So if I wanted to create an about page, for example, okay? See, about, and then create, I just created an about page. And if I want to navigate to that about page, I can just hit the arrow and now I'm in the about page and I'm building the about page. It's that simple, it's that easy, it's that fast. So don't mess around with the old 2012 WP admin that's slow as molasses, like, oh, I gotta create an about page here first, and then I can get into the environment where I actually wanna build. No, just go into Etch, and then you can just do the things you need to do inside of Etch, okay? So I'm gonna go back to pages, and then I wanna go back to my home page where I was. Great, now I'm back on the home page. You know this because the structure panel tells you, okay? This is your, like, where am I landmark, okay? So it's telling me I am in the home page. By the way, I am gonna keep the chat up. When is keyboard shortcuts coming? There are some keyboard shortcuts, but custom keyboard shortcuts are coming. They are coming. There's a whole keyboard shortcut architecture that needs to be created because we want you to be able to customize your shortcuts and do whatever you want with your shortcuts versus us just deciding what they should be. Okay. What you probably want to do next is like, how do I get something on the page? How easy is it to just get things on the page? Well, we have our add elements bar down here. It's very easy. And you're going to notice there's no other panels, right? But you are going to see panels appear as soon as I add something onto the page. So I'm going to add a section, for example. It's going to add a section with a container in it. You're going to see this styling panel show up. You're gonna see this HTML panel show up, this CSS panel show up, this JavaScript panel show up, this elements attributes panel show up, and this might terrify you a little bit, but it's okay. I'm gonna show you what you actually need to worry about and what you don't need to worry about, depending on your skill level, depending on your comfort level, depending on your workflow preferences, okay? The very first thing you have to understand is that this is completely, it's completely fluid. Like you could do whatever you want with it, all right? You can show what you want to show, you can hide what you want to hide, you can move the stuff, you can put it wherever you want to put it. This is completely based on your preferences. Now, the default, if you're like, what are Kevin's preferences? This is essentially laid out to my preferences with one caveat. I don't use this styling panel right now, okay? So I turn off the style inputs. This is my preference, but I wanted everybody to know that the style inputs are there, okay? So they load by default, but you can click this little button right here. I'm gonna zoom down here so you guys can see. And you have control over every single panel, whether you see it or don't see it at any given time, okay? And so let's say, for example, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these things give you nightmares. You don't like these things. They make you very uncomfortable, okay? That's totally fine. Bang, 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 gone. Now, Etch now is going to have the workflow of an element or a bricks or a break dance, okay? Or a generate, whatever. This is a traditional workflow. You're gonna have a styling panel, you're gonna have a structure panel. That's it, okay. You don't have to have the HTML panel open or the CSS panel open. You don't have to interact with those panels. It is, if somebody tells you, oh, you gotta know how to code, you gotta know, no, that's not true. No, Etch gives you more power and flexibility, but it doesn't require more power and flexibility. It doesn't require you to use those aspects of Etch, right? So as you can see here, I can still, without code open, I can still add whatever I need to add to the page. So there's a heading, there's text, we can do links, we can do all of that stuff. You're still gonna notice something about the styling panel though. It's just kind of sitting there saying, hey, if you wanna get started, you're gonna have to add a selector. Very, very important to understand. Every other builder, the reason you can just style willy-nilly, just add something and start styling without any thinking involved, is because they already made a decision for you. And that decision is simple, that we are going to auto-generate an ID or a class, and we are gonna have you apply those styles to that unique ID or that unique class. And that does allow you to just kind of like go in and quickly without thinking style things. But that's the problem. You're not thinking. You're not thinking. And that is a horrible, horrible, horrible practice. And we're not in the business of advocating for horrible practices. We want to advocate for better practices, for people who actually think when they're working, right? And so now, if you're like, Kevin, I don't like to think. I like to do things the wrong way. Well, that's fine. You can hit Command and Enter. That is the Add Attribute bar. You can also click this little button right here. It's gonna do the exact same thing. If you have the CSS or the HTML panels available down there, there's a button just like this on here or a plus sign just like this. It'll open the exact same thing, okay? This is how you add classes or IDs or really any kind of attribute. Any valid selector can be added here, unlike most traditional tools where it's just classes, right? Or just IDs and just classes. This is any valid selector in CSS will absolutely work here. Now, if you don't want to think, right, you can type rand, okay? .rand will give you a random class. Hashtag rand will give you a random ID. Do we recommend this? No, because that's just not, it's just not thinking. That's not really how web design works. It would be better if you thought about the class names. And I've shown this many, many, many times before. And I will show the workflow right now where we organize our structure panel, okay? We have a heading, we have, I call these lead paragraphs, right? I'm just gonna do this very, very quick like. Actually, let me, instead of this, so let's just do a 2-column. Let's just do a simple, hey, let's do a 2-column hero section. What does that workflow look like, right? So I've got my inner right here. I'm gonna add 2 flex divs, okay? All these are boxes that are set to display flex for you by default. You can get plain old divs. See this div right here? That's a plain old div, no display flex, no nothing. This is a plain old div, already set to display flex, flex direction column. Reason being, you can use flex alignments and gaps without having to constantly go display flex, flex direction column. Like that's a waste of time. Nobody wants to do that. So flex div is like a shortcut, okay? Without any downsides. So I'm gonna call this content, and I'm gonna call this media wrapper. I'll use the word wrappers on these, make it very clear. So content wrapper, you can name these whatever you want. Content wrapper, let's go heading, text, and link. See, I just popped those in. I call these lead paragraphs. I would call this something like a CTA, okay? We've got our media wrapper right here, and then I'm gonna pop my media inside of that. And the media wrapper, I don't want it to be a div. I want it to be a figure tag. I want it to wrap the image with a figure tag. And so if I want to change that to a figure tag, I don't have my HTML panel available. Remember, I hid it. I was afraid of it. I can't, but I can still do it. There's still a pathway, right? I can just double click right here and I can write the word figure, and now that is going to output a figure tag instead of a div. You can also change it right here. You can also see the list of available options, like common options right here. But you're not limited to these. You can write whatever you want to write right inside of that input, okay? So there are no limitations in Etch. You can do whatever you want to do, even if what you're doing is going to break things, but that's okay because you know, it'll break and then you'll fix it. It'll be all good. Okay, so I've got a figure, I've got an image. Now, as soon as, here's the thing about classes. Nobody likes to write them. I don't like to write them. I hate writing classes. I do like to organize things though. So you organize your structure panel, you right click and you go create BEM classes. And now every single one of these elements has a class that I can style, and my inputs panel has come to life, and I can start to do things that I would normally do inside of a conventional page builder. The only difference is that I used just a little bit of organization and brain power before I told the builder I wanted to start styling things, right? Okay, so everything has a class now. And I didn't have to write any class names. I didn't have to type a lot. I didn't have to do, because nobody wants to do that. That's a really annoying work. I get it. That's why we fixed it. That's why we created auto BEM, okay? And so now what I wanna do is I wanna start doing my actual styling. Now I can come up here and I'm gonna show you why I prefer writing CSS and why I do encourage people to start to learn CSS and get better at CSS, right? So I can come into layout and I can choose something like grid for, well, we wouldn't want to do this on the hero. We'd want to do this on the inner. Essentially what I want to do is make this inner the 2 columns, right? I would use grid for that. So I'm gonna come in and do display grid and then grid template columns. I don't have automatic CSS here, right? So I could do like 1FR, and that's gonna give me 2 side-by-sides. This isn't gonna be a CSS tutorial, right? But you could do min-max, right? Repeat 3, min-max, 0, 1FR. I'm not gonna take the time to do it all right now. We're just gonna do 1FR. The only reason I don't do 1FR normally is because you can get into some overflow situations. Min-max is safer, okay? Of course, if you were using something like automatic CSS, you just say, hey, dude, I want a grid 2 right here. What min max, what is all that? I just want a grid 2. Okay, then you can just write grid 2 and you're gonna get a 2-column grid. And we do have auto wrapping as well, so you don't have to write the var over and over and over again. And you are gonna be able to click a button right here and it's gonna bring up all of your variables and tokens and all that stuff. You're just gonna click, 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 inject them all. That's, of course, that's all gonna be happening, right? That's a no-brainer situation. But for right now, you just type your values in. So there's your 1FR, 1FR, right? And when I have my gap here, I don't have a framework. So I mean, I'm just kind of using some static values here. I'll just throw in 2M. Now I can come to the hero section here and we got to talk about our padding block, our padding inline, or just our normal padding. Block axis, vertical axis, inline is the horizontal axis. We use the actual names because Etch is a tool that respects the language of web design. And if you're learning the language of web design using Etch, you're actually going to learn. You're not going to learn a proprietary language that nobody else uses except for that one tool that you happen to be using at the time. You're going to learn a language that everybody speaks, and you're going to actually know and learn and understand web design, right? So I'm going to put like 5M here and 2M here. The inline padding is just going to be our gutter, and you're going to start to see this section kind of come to life, right? Okay, so I've got this flex direction of column. I can align items to the center, would center it here. And I will show you, by the way, as we go through this, Figma iterations, mock-ups of how these inputs are going to get way friendlier for beginners, because that's the audience that is really using them. Intermediate beginner users will use these panels a lot. Advanced people will most likely just write all of their CSS because all of the advantages that you get, especially with nesting, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, okay? But again, you can do the things that you need to do right here. And I'm just going to start to gap these apart. I want this to be an H1 instead of an H2, so I can just swap the tag right there, okay? Very, very, very simple. All right, so my hero section, and then I want to insert an image, which I don't have. So we're going to go to unsplash.com real quick. We're just going to grab one. It's not, wow, there's they're doing a green theme today, I guess, on Unsplash. Okay, let's go to Squoosh and let's bring that in. I'm just going to opt, we don't want an 80 megabyte file. So let's just go 1920 and let's drop that down. Actually, while we're here, why don't we WebP it? That'll make it even better. Okay, and then we will go back in and we're gonna come in here and essentially over here, let me explain this attributes panel real quick. This essentially any element that you add has attributes, okay? A class is an attribute, an ID is an attribute, an ARIA label is an attribute. Whatever attributes exist are exposed right here in this sidebar. This is very helpful if you have the code hidden. Of course, if you don't have the HTML editor hidden, and I'm just gonna undo these right now or make them show back up, you're gonna see all of the attributes in the HTML. You can freely edit the HTML. You can also make this panel however big you want. You can also control how much real estate each one takes up on each side. But if I wanted to just write an alt in the code, right, I could say green frog, right? I can just write, I can free write in the HTML. That's not a problem whatsoever. You can do whatever you want in the HTML. There's really no limitations here. But if you have this hidden, you still have attribute access via these inputs right here, which by the way, you can collapse these panels if you don't want to see them at any time. If you're like, okay, that's useful, but it's maybe I don't want it all the time. You don't have to hide it necessarily. You can just minimize it essentially, okay? And if I double click it, it's gonna come back to life. And it's like the ratios, you can play with the rate. Like I could literally bring it way up here. It's super handy. What you're gonna find in Etch is that there's not a lot of inception in the interface. You're not like, oh, what panel am I in? Oh, where am I? This thing's covering up that thing. No, you can kind of just see everything at all times and you can turn things off if you want to, but controlling how much real estate they take up at any given time is way more freeing than like one panel covering another panel or anything like that happens in traditional builders. Like for example, in the block editor, you go to add an element and it covers your structure panel completely. You can't see your structure panel anymore. It's like, why that need to happen, you know? Everything is like, I can bring this up, I can still see my structure panel. If I wanna see more of it, I can just choose to see more of it at that point in time. So it's just a really nice interface that you're not gonna get lost in. Like what you see is what you get. Everything is right here. All right, so let's just click this. We're gonna bring up essentially the native media gallery for right now. And I'll throw, Dia has a bug where it opens, if you pull anything from the downloads folder, it opens it instead of also just putting it in here. Kind of annoying. All right, let's put that in. And then what I wanna do, and now let's get into writing. Okay, so like I showed, you got panels over there, obviously, whatever. And I'm gonna show you Figma files of how those panels are starting to evolve and how they're getting way more beautiful and way more useful for beginners and things like that. But that's not the most interesting part. Well, there is one interesting part actually that I should point out, okay? So every other builder, the huge downside is that some things you do in the style panels, some things you have to do with CSS. That's just life. That's just life in page builders. And there's a tremendous cost to using their styling inputs. And that tremendous cost is this, that when you use the styling inputs, that puts CSS in one place. And when you use custom CSS, that puts styles in another place. And those two things do not talk to each other. And then you play this endless game. Now you add in breakpoints into the mix. So in breakpoint land, you have styles in 2 different places at 4 different breakpoints. And you're constantly playing this game of where are the styles coming from? You get lost in your styling, right? That never happens in Etch. So I don't need padding on this image, but I'm gonna add padding just to show you what happens down here. This is a bidirectional sync between the CSS editor and the style inputs. So whatever I do here is going to reflect right there instantly, okay? And it's gonna stay synced until the end of time. So I can do half my styling here and then switch over here and do half my styling in the CSS, and there's no downside because everything exists in both places at all times, everywhere, all at once. Isn't that that's a movie or something? Okay, so now that I've shown that, I'm just gonna hide this. I hide it for 2 reasons. 1, I work faster in CSS. 2, I can nest in CSS, which means I can also do very powerful things like media queries, nested media queries, inline tokenization, lots of stuff, lots of advantages. And I also get more screen real estate because I hide that sidebar. Like I get all that real estate back, which is fantastic. I prefer that. So what I want to do, for example, is let's go aspect ratio of 1. You're going to see I do have auto suggest here, or I can do like 16:9, and then I can object fit of cover, and boom, and I can border radius of like 1 M, something like that. Okay, and so now you can see that we are starting to get our little hero section going. I do want to point out one thing. I do like 1 out of 1 better. Let's do 1 over 1. Let's make it a square so it's nice and big. And I want to show you something. Remember that I created the 2-column grid in the style panel, but it's sitting right here. And this is what I mean by nested media queries. And I just want to show you an example of nesting because I don't write CSS like this anymore. I used to do this in page builders because they made it very difficult to do it the other way, the better way. If you don't know, display grid right here is a 1-column layout by default, okay? If I want it to be 2 columns, like here, I don't want that to be 2 columns everywhere and then set it back to 1 column. Like that's very inefficient to go like, make it 2 everywhere. I know you were 1, but I want you to be 2, and then I'm just gonna set you back to 1 at a breakpoint. Don't do that. Just decide at what breakpoint and up it should be 2 columns. This is the perfect use case for a minimum width media query. So you can just write media, and in Etch you can use all of the new range syntaxes. So I can just say greater than 768, and I can paste my, well, I thought I pasted it. I thought I copied it. I could just do grid template columns and then do the 1FR, 1FR. And then if I want to say 2FR, 1FR, you know, whatever ratios I want to do. But this is automatically responsive now because it's only 2 columns above 768. And I'm going to direct your attention down here, okay, to our mobile previews or our responsive previews. And I want to show a really important point to this that, again, is an advantage, especially if you're writing CSS. Huge advantage when you're writing CSS. I am going to go preview, okay, that breakpoint, 768. You can see that it's stacking, right? Notice that when I preview this, I don't lose my CSS like I do in every other builder because every other builder has to apply a new CSS box to that breakpoint. And Etch doesn't worry about that. Etch just relies on your nesting, okay? And so I can go to a breakpoint and see the same CSS that I was seeing at every other breakpoint. Like this does not, it's not affected. It's not changed. It's not disappeared. That's really, really, really helpful. Okay, so what I did is I just made, now this doesn't look good because I don't have any fonts. I don't have any colors. I just threw in some random spacing and stuff, but we're just showing you how to get something onto the page. And I am gonna install automatic CSS in just a minute to show you just a lot of stuff that it makes life tremendously easier. Because at this point with a blank slate, I mean, you're gonna have to think about so many things. What do you want your section padding to, your default section padding to be? What do you want your default gaps to be? How are you gonna set those? What about your color setup? What about how are you gonna tokenize all this stuff? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. That's why you pop in a framework, boom, you're good to go. All those decisions are made for you and solved for you, and you just configure it to however you like, and then you move on with your life and you build a bunch of stuff. But if you're gonna start from scratch, you know, it's like anything starting from scratch. It's a lot of extra work. So let's just pause for a second. We did make a little responsive hero section. I mean, just throwing some stuff on a page. You are gonna be able to configure all of these very soon. You are gonna be able to also manage, because we're thinking about stuff like this, where other tools aren't, because other tools are not asking the question that we're asking. And I'll just make sure that this is understood. This is probably the most important thing to understand about Etch. Every other builder starts from the premise with this question: how do we make this process, this workflow, how do we make building websites easy for people who don't know what they're doing? That's the question that they ask. And all of the decisions they make are geared toward solving that question, right? And what happens when you do that is you have to care a lot about what people who don't know what they're doing care about. And you kind of have to ignore what people who do know what they're doing care about, because you can't really serve those two groups perfectly, right? You can. There is one cheat code to doing it, which I'll tell you in just a second. But if you design an interface for people who don't know what they're doing, you are not going to satisfy people who do know what they're doing. It will never work. We've tried that experiment, in fact, for 15 years now. And we continue to come to the conclusion that that does not work. And so Etch asks the completely opposite question of, how do we just design an interface that actually innovates a professional workflow? Like, how do we design an interface that we actually want to work in, that actually makes our life easier and faster and allows us to do all the things that we've always wanted to do without any limitations, without any drawbacks, and without any nonsense? That's the fundamental question, right? And so when we're asking that question, we can think about things like, okay, we're gonna have media queries, obviously, and you could see these use range syntax. These don't use like the old school syntax. And we're gonna combine this with container queries. So I think if you're not, you know, deep into CSS land, container queries are likely going to replace media queries, I would say, in 90% of use cases. I haven't seen another tool even start to think about how to implement container queries yet. It's gonna be a primary thing that we're gonna be implementing here. So you're gonna have container query management, you're gonna have full media query management, you're gonna be able to deploy this stuff. We're gonna have tokenized media queries, because that's a massive, massive problem in CSS that nobody has solved. We're gonna solve it. We're solving a lot of things. I haven't showed you autocomplete stuff. There's so much stuff. I mean, we could literally be here for a month, okay? But yeah, we're solving a lot of things that you guys, the people who are like, I know what I'm doing, Kevin. Okay, we're solving the problems for you. And then the other audience that we really care about and want to attract is people who want to know what they're doing, right? So you might have spent 5 years in Element or in Divi or whatever, and you know those tools pretty well, but you still know deep down, you don't really know anything about web design because those tools did not teach you. And the people who built those tools did not teach you. And you're like, I kind of feel like an imposter and I want to do things right and I want to learn. Okay, we want you, right? We want you to come in and we want to teach you and we want you to use a proper workflow, right? So we're thinking about you too. And when I said the secret a minute ago, what is the secret? How do you get beginners, quote unquote beginners, to feel comfortable in a proper tool? You don't dumb the tool down to help them feel comfortable. You take them and you lift them up. You give them the education and the guidance and the coaching and the support necessary to get them comfortable in the competent tool, right? You don't dumb the tool down. That's the secret. That's it. And it turns out, and I've proven this through Page Building 101, that when you do that for people, they feel way better about themselves. They don't feel better when you say, hey, we dumbed this down for you so even you can use it, right? Nobody feels good when you tell them that. When you do the opposite, which is, hey, here's a tool and we're going to get you competent in it, and then you succeed in that, they feel really good about themselves. That is the path forward, okay? Dumbing down the tools that's that experiment, it's failed enough. We don't need to do that experiment anymore. Okay, let's see. Yeah, if I leak the license key, that's okay. We can, I burn these all the time. Okay. Let me hop over to questions real quick, because we'll just pause here, and we're gonna see what people are asking. And maybe some questions can lead us down a specific path. We can go into, we should go into templating. We should go into style management. We should go into loops. We should go into components. We should go into a lot of different areas. I'm gonna let you guys kind of lead here, and we'll just see where we wanna go. And I will install ACSS because I would rather jump off a bridge face first than to build something without my workflow. It's too tremendously important. So I'm gonna go activate that real quick. I also will activate ACF just so we can do whatever third-party custom field stuff you guys might want to see. Let's go ahead and let's jump back in. Okay, now you notice things start to come to life in here. I can even take this stuff out, okay, because ACSS is handling all of that for me. It's probably handling all of this for me as well, except flex direction, probably, maybe not, I don't know. The gap's probably still there. There we go. Okay, save, great. All right, so we're back. Current proper way to install Google Fonts. Please choose a font that has multiple font sizes. Thank you. Okay, we can do font stuff in a minute. It's not super important. It's kind of just a style thing. I was just wondering, will nested CSS find its way to inputs on a level base? Yeah. So we're actually, it's one of the things that we're going to be talking about, but if you have the style panel open, so you go to style inputs right here, obviously when I switch here, this is going to have to clear out because there's only one input per property, right? So this has to clear out, and it's going to reflect up here that you are now engaging with this at this breakpoint, right? So all of that is still being, it's a work in progress. In fact, it has a work in progress badge up here, right here. Like anything that has this whip badge, essentially means this is rapidly changing and iterating, and just, stay tuned. You're along for the ride. And I will pull up a Figma. There's some exciting stuff to show you guys in Figma. The way that we're engineering a lot of the stuff that we're doing in Etch different from how everybody else does it. No different than the styling inputs. Everybody's this copycat. Hey, just copy Webflow. That's basically what everybody's done. They haven't put any thought into modern workflows. By the way, Webflow was designed in 2014 or whatever. And I know they made some updates and stuff since then. They were not designed in a variable first era. They were not designed in all of the modern stuff that we're doing with container queries and media queries and all this. That was not the interface. It was not designed in that era, right? And so the fact that everybody's copying it even to this day doesn't make any sense to the brain. I'll show you some stuff that we're working on. Okay, so let's see. Will Etch integrate with other frameworks like Core? Okay, this is a good question. Will Etch integrate with other frameworks like Core Framework? You can use no framework. You can use Core Framework. You can use ACSS. You can use Tailwind. You can build your own framework. Etch is going to we have a style manager. Let me open up the style manager for you. So this is where you manage all the classes that are on your website. Here's the ones you watched me add. See, I added them with AutoBim, so it added them automatically, but these are the ones that I added. I can see and touch the CSS for them at any time, right? I can swap over and manage global variables here. I can put them into collections. I can do whatever I want to do there. There's going to be a global styles area here, where you get a nice preview of what you're doing as well. And then there's gonna be a framework manager where you could literally, if you wanted to, build a framework from the ground up in Etch and then export it, sell it, whatever you wanna do. So we're saying, look, may the best framework win. This is not a, oh, you bought Etch, so you have to use ACSS situation. We're confident that ACSS is the #1 framework. Like, you're gonna see it, it's gonna be an option, and most people are gonna choose it because they recognize, like, I don't wanna do the work to build that thing from scratch. Like, this is ridiculous. Nobody wants to waste that amount of time. But if they do have a preference on another framework, okay, fine. It's a development environment. It's not like a Kevin's opinion environment. It's a development environment. So you can do whatever you need to do. Okay. Can I import frames into Etch? We'll be rebuilding frames in Etch, but to answer that question in a sly way, Etch is the only interface where you can grab HTML from anywhere and paste it right here, and the blocks will manifest in front of your eyes. And then I will give you a hint of it's already proof of concepted out, but we are going to have the first, how would I even describe this? I don't think we've even officially named it yet. But it's like it's a selector identification system where you would essentially take the URL of the page you got that HTML from, and you would paste it into Etch in the importer, and Etch is going to look at the selectors that you brought over, only those selectors, and it's gonna find them in the style sheets that are on that URL, and it's gonna import only that CSS for those. No other tool does that. Etch is already, there's a proof of concept for doing this already, which is gonna be absolutely fantastic. So you don't have to import like an entire style sheet. It will literally selectively grab the styles of the HTML that you happened to grab. And it also attaches the selectors to every individual element, just like you see here, rather than having some compiled style block or something like that going on. This is not just this is what I guess you would call a reactive selector system, okay? I can demonstrate an example of this right here. So for example, let's say I wanted this hero, right? So class hero. I'm gonna do this, hero, and then I'm gonna do H1. So what this should do is select any H1 that is inside of hero, all right? Now I'm gonna go to my style manager, and you're gonna see that that selector is sitting right there. Now, I'm on hero. I don't see that badge. Why don't I see that badge? Well, because I'm not selecting the thing the selector selects. It's a reactive selector system, which means it knows what you selected. It knows what you tried to select. And if you go to that thing, the badge will be sitting there, right? That is the selector right there. And then I can do, color red, whatever I want to do. And now anytime I have a hero with an H1 in it, these styles are going to apply. And if I change this to an H2, right? If I change that to an H2, it's gone, right? So I go back to it. Where'd the badge go? Well, the badge is gone because that's not an H1 anymore. It's not being selected anymore. Like, it's not like every other page builder, you add a selector to a thing and it sticks to that thing. That's not how Etch works. Etch is again, it's like a reactive selector system. It knows what's supposed to be selected by the selectors that are in the database, and those are the things that get the badges. Those are the things that get selected, right? So if I change this back to an H1, right? Oh, it turns red. Why? Because that's what's supposed to happen. And then if I go back to it, the badge is back. See, I didn't have to remove the badge or add the badge. No, I have a selector, and Etch knows what the selector is supposed to be, and it shows up on the proper item. Like I said, you can do wheres, you can do combo selectors, you can do compound selectors, you can do any valid selector you can put in. You can also put attributes at the same time. So I'll just give you an example. Like if I wanted to do hero heading as an ID, and then I wanted to do my hero heading as a class, and then I wanted to do aria label equals my heading or whatever. This is all nonsense, but I'm just demonstrating that all of those things can happen at the same time. All of those things can happen. So it got the ID, right? It got the class, my hero heading. In the HTML, it got the aria label. And so that's a selector bar. That is not a class bar or an ID bar, or it's a selector bar. And you can add as many as you want to. You can combine different types. It's very flexible. Let me go back to chat. I forgot I was locked into the hashtag Q. Okay. All right, let's go in and do something dynamic. Let's do something with components. Let's do something with components. Let me just clear this out. We're just gonna hit save. I'm gonna go into Dribble. I was looking through like these files the other day, and I wanna kind of walk you through just a little simple, like maybe component and maybe loop tutorial too, because I do want you to experience some of this stuff. I found one that I thought was like, okay, it was like it was fairly simple, but it was kind of interesting too. Like this little card layout right here that they've got going on. So as you can see, we need a card, and it needs to, when it's in the second row, the ratio of the grid needs to flip, because right now it's like 3-2 or 2-1, right? So it's 2-1, 2-1, but in here it's 1-2, 1-2. It's got to like flip back and forth. We would like that thing to be a component. If this was like yoga classes or yoga instructors or yoga whatever, it would probably be a CPT. It would probably be in a loop, okay? So we can look at things like that as an example. Let's go, here's the documentation I wanted to point out, by the way, docs.etchwp.com. I would bookmark that, just have that handy. We are rolling out very detailed documentation. I mean, we're trying to be as detailed as possible with this stuff. We're trying to write this stuff in plain language so that anybody can understand it. We're gonna have a gazillion videos. I mean, if you know anything about me or, you know, our past tools, like we educate, that's what we do. Like there's gonna be no shortage of how to do things in Etch and how to do things in web design in general. Okay, time for components. Yes, I think you are right. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go back in, and I'll just do a section here. I'm gonna turn off the styling panel now. I'm gonna kind of work more like I prefer to work. And I'm gonna do a heading, and this is going to be like our classes. We'll do that. By the way, you can ignore this, this focus border. That's from ACSS. ACSS 4.0 is currently in development. This is a Dev 21 copy, if that tells you anything. It's the wild, wild west right now. I have this for testing purposes so that I can find issues like this where the focus style is leaking into the canvas. But that's not Etch doing that. That's ACSS Refactor 4.0 doing that. Okay, so let's go into a container. Let's make a container. We're gonna call this our classes grid, right? And we can just call this our classes section. It's just very good to just organize things, right? This would be the intro. We should do an intro component as well. It's one of the first components that I make on any website that I do. And I think it's important to show you guys like how conditional logic works inside of Etch and how conditional logic helps you create component variations. And we are very quickly going to get into territory where a beginner, like if you're a pure beginner, your ears may start bleeding, but there's no reason to panic, right? We're here to hold your hand through all of this stuff. I took my time in the beginning. It is time to get into like what, you know, the advanced people want to see. So we have to get there. All right, so our classes, and this will be like intro paragraph right here. We'll get back to that later. We're not gonna do that right now. We're gonna do something more fun. So my classes grid, I'm just gonna do classes grid. By the way, again, Command Enter gets me right to this bar. So anytime I wanna start adding classes, attributes, whatever, Command Enter, bang, I'm in it, okay? Classes grid, and then I'm gonna put a flex div in here, and this is gonna be my class card. And then inside of my class card, I'm just gonna take a quick look at this and see, I want a wrapper and a wrapper. That's gonna be a figure, my other wrapper. So I want a wrapper and a wrapper, and then I want media inside that, and then we'll deal with the content side in just a second. I wanna kill that instance. Okay, so I'm just gonna go flex div. We're gonna go here with our content wrapper, and then we're gonna go here with our media wrapper. Again, our media wrapper is going to be a figure tag, so I'm just gonna bang bang on that, and then I'll just drop media in there. And then we'll just put a placeholder in for now. So I'm just gonna grab the frog. I know the frog does not do yoga. We'll try to get some yoga images in there in a minute. For our HTML content, I need, essentially, I don't know what 6 packs, 9 packs, 12 packs means. So I'm gonna leave that out for now. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna put a heading, text, and well, I'm not gonna put a link. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So I'm gonna do heading, text, and text, essentially. This is gonna be the call to action. This is going to be, oh, let's show another quick little nice helper. So I want some lorem ipsum text. I want 10 words. I'm gonna do lorem 10. We do have emit. So if you do lorem 10 or really any emit code will expand into what you want. So I just quickly grabbed, you know, 10 words of lorem text right there by doing lorem 10 tab. But I could show you here that I can pretty much do any, well, we'll get to that later. I can do any emit that I want to do. Okay, this is going to be an H3. So I'm going to change that to an H3. This is going to be my card heading right here. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, right click, create BIM classes for all of that stuff right there. Except this one should have been CTA, right? So no problem. I made a mistake. That's fine. I'm going to take that class off. I'm going to hit Command Enter and I'm going to fix it. Class card, __ CTA. So now this one is text, but this one is CTA. So you don't have to be perfect. You make a little mistake, you just remove it, You can also rename them freely, by the way. If I wanted this to be description, and actually we just put that in. I'm gonna show you 2 ways to do it, okay? You could do it here, which this needs to be fixed because of something we tried to fix, another issue with like jumping classes. So we had this as an overlay. Description, there you go. So I just renamed it by double clicking on it. But I can also always come up here to the style manager. I can find any class that I want, like that card description. I could change it to like lead if I wanted to. So I could say lead and boom, confirm rename, and it's a lead. But let's go back, okay? Notice it's changed here. Notice it's changed in the HTML. It's not just like I'm changing the name in a style sheet and then all my shit breaks. Etch knows where you attached that class or what was selected previously by it, and it changes the HTML also to prevent breakage. So you can freely rename classes without any harm done to your website, which is very, very, very convenient. I'll leave that as lead for right now. We'll just make that lead there. Okay, so I've got all of my classes added. What I want to do now is just start to style. So I'm going to say display of grid, and then remember, same thing. If we think about this, don't we want this probably to be 1 column on mobile? So don't set it to 2 and then back to 1. All we have to do is come in and say, hey, media, and then say width greater than 768 pixels. Do the same thing we did earlier. Grid template columns, which we have autocomplete on, and then I can say grid 2. And if I want it to be grid 2.3, I can do grid 2.3 or grid 3.2, whatever I want to do there. Okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to justify our content to the center, and that's pretty good. Okay, next thing I want to do, just because I do have a touch of OCD, okay? We're going to go yoga, and we're just going to grab a yoga photo. Let's grab this one. And let's go to Squoosh, and let's bring this in, and let's do this, and let's do this, and let's do this. 1920 is good enough. Okay, save. I want to do WebP. We'll save that one too. Okay, let's go back into Etch, and let's drop that in. All right, WebP there, good. Thank you, Dia, for opening it. That's what we needed to do, Dia. We needed to open it and upload it at the same time. Okay, so let's go back and look. Here we go. We want padding, okay? We want padding around here. So I'm gonna go close on this, close on this, close on that. We don't want too many tabs open. All right, so I'm gonna go to my class card and I'm gonna say padding, and I'm gonna do card padding, which I don't have my card framework turned on. So I'm just gonna go to cards, turn that on, bang. And a whole new world of styling cards that makes things very, very, very easy just opened up to me. I'm gonna do border, and I'm gonna do border, and I'm gonna do border, thank you. And I'm gonna do border radius, and I'm gonna do radius. var autocomplete is tremendously helpful. Okay, and I'm gonna put another card next to this card, let's say. All right, classes grid, same thing. Display of grid, and then same thing, like at media. By the way, there's gonna be a shortcut to this, and there's also going to be tokenized media queries. Notice I'm referencing them statically. That's because that's how CSS works. Is that how CSS should work? No. So we're gonna fix that. Grid template columns of grid 2. Grid 2. Good, save. So now these cards are side by side, and they're gonna keep stacking for as many cards as I want to exist, okay? Did I just duplicate the grid? I just duplicated the entire grid. We don't wanna do that. Okay, so got my card. I'm gonna switch this gap real quick to card gap. Boom. And actually that's here. Actually, it's really both places that I want it, but we want it there for sure. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create a component out of this, and we are gonna slow down here. I just wanted to get to this point, so now we can slow down and actually create the component. We can look here to see, by the way, did that like properly become responsive? It does, it stacks, okay? Everything that we would expect. I can also flex this, and I can, it's already object fit covered by itself. Okay, Let's pause and create a component really quickly. I want to look back over to chat here. Okay, I think we're good. I just want to make sure we didn't completely lose anybody here. 14, yeah, exactly. I don't know. Yeah, so some of these mock-ups, I don't know. They didn't really think about the content they were putting in. Okay, let's make it. Now you might think to yourself, by the way, I'm gonna remove the second one because we only need one. We're gonna be looping, we're gonna be doing a component. We don't need multiple, we just need one. You might think that creating a component in Etch is very difficult. Like that's just sounds very technical, that's very hard. It's as easy as this, okay? I already named it class card. I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna click this little purple button that says create component, and it is now a component. And by the way, we don't have to go anywhere, okay? There's no special component land that you have to go to make or manage your components. We're in the same place that we were currently in. You can't touch anything outside of here because we're in the context of editing a component, but you can see your component in the context in which it's going to live, which is very helpful, by the way, for designing it. And if I wanted to save and I wanted to exit, I have created, in fact, a component. And I'm gonna put BG Ultra Light on here real quick to get us a nice light background. And then I'm gonna go edit this component, and everything is still accessible to me. I'm just gonna say background of white. I just want that card background to be white, and we have a nice light gray background, and I'm gonna hit exit. But you can see now that I have a component, okay? And I just wanna hit pause here, and let's go back out into Gutenberg land. I want you to see that everything that we've done so far is authored into Gutenberg, including the component. I have not elected for that to happen. I didn't do any extra steps or do any magic tricks. It just always happens at all times. You can edit here and it will reflect back in Etch, but I have essentially authored custom blocks, except they're core blocks. And if I open this, I'm gonna see that this is all labeled. I mean, this is exactly what I did in Etch. And that right there, my friends, is what they call a synced pattern in Gutenberg. I just authored a synced pattern in Gutenberg, which, by the way, I can right click and say save to library or wherever they decided to put that option. I don't even remember where it went. But you could save this to the pattern library. You can manage your patterns. You can go insert it on another page and it's gonna work and all of that. So this is all completely auto-authored into core blocks. These are all core blocks. Nothing here is proprietary. These are all core blocks. And when I start to create props, which you'll see in just a second, those are gonna be exposed into this sidebar here. This is essentially the client editing interface. So for those of you who are like, I need a builder where my clients can freely come in and they're not overwhelmed and they're not lost and they're not breaking shit, and this is it. This is it right here. They're gonna open it in Gutenberg and they're gonna do their stuff right here in Gutenberg. Whatever you allow them to do, they're gonna do. Whatever you don't allow them to do, they're not gonna do because you didn't allow it, right? You get to decide what the client editing experience is going to be like. Okay. Yeah, fonts are not loaded. The fonts are loaded in Gutenberg. I just don't have them set in ACSS. And so this is relying on ACSS right now. So they're not loading, but they do load in Gutenberg for sure. Okay, great. So we saw that. That's fantastic. I'm gonna go back into Etch and we're gonna keep working. So because we're not done, right? Now, when you're creating a component, you can do anything under the sun. That's a good thing and a bad thing. If you try to sit and think, what are all the things I want to do to this component? And you try to program all that complexity in, you could spend an hour on this card and you haven't done anything else on the rest of the site. I don't recommend doing it that way. The nature of components, a component says, it's like you're raising your hand and say, hey, I'm building a thing and I'm going to use this thing a lot of places, but I want the flexibility to edit this thing, the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, the whatever is a part of this thing at any time. And I want that change to go out to all the instances that I've deployed. You've got to use that to your advantage, which means do the simplest amount of work, the least amount of work to move on. Because when you get to the point where you need the component to do something else, guess what? You can program it at that time. And then it won't affect it, like everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. So you use components to your advantage like that. So I'm just gonna do the simplest of things. The simplest of things is to create a prop for the heading, the text, and this fake link. This is gonna be a fake link. I'll show you in a minute, okay? And the image, okay? So I'm gonna click this plus sign and I'm gonna create some props. They're very simple props. Text, 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 image. That's all I need. I don't need anything crazy. Text, 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 image. That's all I need, okay? This is gonna be heading. This is gonna be description. You can name these whatever you want. This is gonna be fake link, okay? Or you could just say, you could actually say, let's say link text. Let's say link text. I'm gonna delete this real quick and I'm gonna say link destination or URL, or it's really whatever you want. I'll do URL, link URL. So we've got link text, we've got link URL, and then I'll throw my image down there. This is going to be, let's say, the featured image, okay? Sweet. Now what we have to do, we created these props. They need to live in the card, in the places that they're supposed to go. They're like placeholders, they're just tokens, that's all they are, okay? The easiest way to get them into their spots is to click this little target. And if you make a bang sound when you do it, it is more fun. We've measured this. We have plenty of data on this now. So you click this and you go bang, and that's more fun than not doing the bang part, okay? But if I just click these, they will just come to life, right? So I just click the target, click the area, they come to life. Here's the image right here, and that goes in. It doesn't have a default, so I'll just set it back to this as the default. There it is, okay? And I've mapped my props. Man. Mind blown, okay? That was so hard. That was super hard, right? The only thing I did not link up is the URL, which I don't even have a URL yet, but we're gonna get to that in just a second. Let's just save and see what happened. What did doing that accomplish, right? So I'm gonna exit. Oh, it looks like what it looked like a minute ago. Well, when I duplicate it now, if I want two of them, for example, if I come to this component, I now have these exposed inputs over here where I can say, I should have chosen like a sport I know. I don't know what any classes are in yoga. Class 1. I don't know what else to put here. I'm a yoga idiot. I don't know. And if you're watching yoga and you're like shaking, I get it. I totally get that. So see, I can have a component, right? But it can have unique content. That's what props give you. Props is like, hey, I want a token so that unique content can go here without having to be the same content everywhere. So that's all that we've done. And that means I can come here and a frog can in fact do yoga now at this point. They can lead class number 1. It's whatever you want to put. You're not restricted now, even though it's a component, right? I can have the instances of the component do everything. But at any time, if I wanted to edit the component and say, you know what, the lead should come before the heading. I don't know why you would want to do that, but that change will apply to everywhere, right? Now, if you only want that to apply to certain places, you can put in logic. Like for example, what if we wanted to not have an image? What if we wanted an instance of this card to not have an image, okay? Let's just take a look at just some simple conditional logic. I'm gonna move this back to here, okay? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna create a prop that is called has image, because I think that's a very simple way to name it. So I'm gonna create this Boolean prop, and it's gonna be has image, just like this. And I write in camel case, but I don't need to, because it writes the key in camel case for me. Has image, right? And I'm gonna take this figure right here. This figure is essentially the image, and I want to get rid of it. I wanna get rid of it. Now I am gonna run into an issue where I would have to adjust my CSS, and I don't know how deep into this we really wanna get, right? But I've set this to be a grid, and it's kind of relying on two different things to be there, and only one thing's gonna be there if we turn this image off. But again, this isn't a whole web design and development tutorial, it's just a tutorial of how Etch works. Okay, so what I wanna do is right click this, and I wanna say wrap in condition. I can wrap it in a loop, I can wrap it in a div, but I wanna wrap this in a condition, right? And I wanna check if has image, right? I'm gonna say props.has image. So if that's on, I should see the image. If that's off, I should not see the image. I have just now, before your very eyes, programmed conditional logic into Etch. I know that seems very difficult. I get it. I'll explain it in just a second. But now I now have the ability to just go in and be like, well, that one should not have an image, and then the other one should, right? And what I can also do off of that is if it doesn't have an image, I can change the grid. I can do whatever else I want or need to do based on that Boolean switch. But I'm just showing you how easy it is to bake that, essentially that option for the component in, right? If we go take a look at what happened in the HTML, it wrapped it in an if. And I think this is very important too, okay? Let's go in here, class card. I wanna change this to an article because that would actually be proper, right? And then what I wanna do is I wanna take this list, okay? And I wanna change that to a UL. So we're gonna change that to an unordered list. And then what I wanna do is I want to, let's do this. Well, I don't know if I can do it with components. We probably need to, yeah, so there's a convert to list option, but I think if you already have a component, it's not gonna do it. But no problem. I can just throw this flex div in. We're just gonna make that an LI. Essentially, we need list items as children of the list, right? So I'll just call that item and I'll just drop my component class card in it and I'll save because I wanna show you something very important. I have a component, I have props, I have conditional logic. What has happened to the DOM? What has happened to the code during all of that complexity? Like, man, there's gotta be extra wrappers somewhere. There's gotta be, I mean, the guy created a component, he created conditional logic in here. What does the DOM look like, right? What does the DOM look like? So there it is. There's my unordered list, okay? I open it up. There's my list item that I asked for. I open it up. There's my article that I asked for. I open it up. There's my content wrapper that I put in with my content. There's my figure with my image. There's no components, loops, logic, none of them output any code. You cannot tell. There is no way to look at the code and go, oh, that's a component, or that's a loop, or that's a condition, or no, there's no evidence of it. There's no artifacts. There's no consequences of doing it, right? It's as clean as a whistle. It's as clean as you could. It's like you wrote it yourself. That's what it is. So there's no downsides to doing all of this stuff. Let's pause for a second. Once the props are synced to Gutenberg is when I would expect it. Yeah, so let's go take a look at what we have synced so far. This is still the Gutenberg side of things is a big work in progress still. But I mean, class number 2, okay, this is a description of class number 2. I mean, you're a client right now. This is you. This is Bev. Bev is in here rocking and rolling, right? She can't break anything, but she can put her content in, right? Let's say take this class, okay? And then she could do, and we need to add a little upload button. I mean, you could do it manually, but it's a work in progress, right? But she would be able to swap the image, set the URL, whatever she wants to do, save, that's it. It exposed whatever props I put in. Boolean's not available yet, work in progress, but the props are auto-exposed for you. And in the future, you're gonna be able to say, I want this prop exposed or not exposed. So if there is something that you want internally for your own etching stuff that you don't want the client to ever see, like a Boolean prop or any prop, right? You just turn that off, just don't expose that to the client in Gutenberg, and it won't be exposed. So that's fantastic too, right? All right, let's pop back into Etch. Notice it's what Bev put back in Gutenberg. When I open Etch, I see what Bev did, right? I see that. But my component's not broken because Bev can't edit that part. So that's nice. All right, let's see. Let's go back into questions. Okay. I'll explain the Boolean real quick to you because notice I didn't have to do like equals this or that or anything like that. If I go to that if condition, when you put the actual Boolean prop name, it is an inherent check, okay? So it's just gonna see, is that yes? And if it is, it's gonna show it. If it's no, it's not gonna show it. Now, can you do something like equals false, equals true? Can you do a strict check, right? Can you check for a string instead of the other value? Yeah, you can do all this stuff. Can I do, if it's a number, can I do greater or equal than 10? Yes, you can do all of that. All of that is freely available and it's getting even more powerful by the day, right? But you can do all of these kind of logic checks. But for a simple Boolean, you don't need any of that. You just literally put the prop name in and it's gonna inherently check it to see if it's true or false. So it makes it very, very easy to do. I think you were gonna show how the component props appear in the native WP block. Yeah, I just did that. I know there's a delay, so can you undo a component if it was made by mistake? Okay, great question, great question. So first of all, a component is not a thing. A component is a ghost wrapper. It's called a ghost wrapper because it doesn't output a wrapper. But in the builder, it's a wrapper, which also, if you're super elite in your thinking, you can have multiple root elements inside of a component too. So you're not forced to turn something into a component. A component is a context that things can live in, just like a loop and just like a condition. Anything can live inside that instance, right? You could literally copy more HTML as another parent element and drop it next to this article inside the component, and then use conditional logic to determine when that thing should exist or not exist. There are no limitations, okay? And now, oh yeah, okay, you were asking, what if I made a mistake, okay? Look, I'm just gonna take all that HTML. So the thing is like, when you give people access to the code, you don't have to have a UI for everything, every possible scenario, okay? Because you have access to the code. So like, I just took that HTML and I'm gonna create, let's duplicate that item right here. And inside of that item, right, I'm gonna drop that in. Now, all I have to do is take the props out, okay? Card, title, right? because there's no props anymore because it's not a component, right? This is not a component, but all the thing with the classes, see, I pasted that HTML, the classes come with it, everything looks the way that it's supposed to look, right? But it's just not a component anymore. So you can just extract the code, paste it over here, and it's not a component anymore. And then you could even create a new component out of it, a card number 2, and then start that as like a new style of card, but you're not redoing all the work you did. That's a possibility too. But yeah, because you can touch the code, you can do whatever at any time. And there's really not any like breakage. Let's change grid. Let's change grid, please, accordion to if condition. What do you mean? What do you mean? You're gonna have to clarify your question, please. Let's see. Will there be a filter to filter for unused classes in the style manager, maybe to bulk delete them? It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's a good question. I'll put that up on the screen. Etch has a built-in detection system. If the class does not exist on the page, it will not output the CSS for it. So it naturally does that by default. If you're an automatic CSS user, or if you end up building your framework inside of Etch when the framework builder is available, it will do that for your framework as well. So automatic CSS, we're just a couple steps away from essentially syncing that with Etch in a way that you can turn everything on in automatic CSS and only what you use will get output by Etch. Because of Etch's selector system, it's a unique advantage of being able to do that inside of Etch where we can't do that inside of any other tool. So that'll be a good benefit as well. But you won't need to scan for unused classes. I mean, you could if you wanted to like clean up the style manager, but as far as front-end performance, there's no impact because if the element is not using the class is not gonna get loaded. So, okay, let's look at loops. Let's loop this real quick because that's another advanced thing that I wanted to show people. Then let's keep moving on. I'm just checking chat real quick, catching up. Yeah, this is a good thing to point out by Andre. I'll let you know. I could keep saying it over and over again. I'll let other people keep saying it. Okay. So let's loop. What do we want to do? Well, let's go to the Content Hub real quick and I want to demo the eventual workflow here so that you understand the power of a unified development environment. I need to create a custom post type for my classes and I need to create some fields, okay? And so what I'm gonna do, now this is not the proposed workflow. This is so you can see the work in progress badge and this is very much work in progress. We are beyond this point, by the way, but it's not merged, so I'm not gonna show it to you. But we are beyond this point right now. But what I wanna be able to do is essentially create a custom post type. This is gonna be inline, you saw me do the page earlier, right? Where I just inlined it in the table. You're gonna be able to do that with custom post types as well. But I'll just show you real quick, and I'm gonna say like my classes, my class, whatever, save. There it is, right? And now I could just start putting in, you know, class number 1, and then I can create that post, and I can say class number 2, and I can put in that post, great. And I can just put in my classes, and then I can go immediately into loops. Now I'm not gonna do that, and I could go into custom fields right here as well. But I'm not gonna do that because a lot of people do ask about, okay, Kevin, I get that, but like in the meantime, because I know you guys are working on this, I really need to use ACF. And does it work with ACF? So I do want to just demo, yes, it does work with ACF. And I want to show you how it works with ACF so that if you're using an ACF workflow, you can do that. Because if you know how to do it with ACF, you'll know how to do it with Etch anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the Content Hub. And I made that my classes because I don't want to use it. I want to use the actual one that we make in ACF. But I also am doing this to prove a point that leaving the workflow that I was just in to come to a different place is a pain in the ass. And it's not enjoyable, and you should not have to do it, right? So if you keep doing it, this is on you, but you're not gonna have to do this. So post types, I would create add new. And you can see now I'm like in a completely different interface. And I've got to, you know, if I am not familiar with this interface, I have to learn this interface. And there's a lot to do here. Okay, so there's my classes. Now I go to field groups and I go to add new. And I'm gonna say this is for classes, right? And what did we say? We want class. Class name is gonna be the title. We want like class description. That would be a text area probably, okay? There's class description. You do have to remember here, by the way, which you won't have to remember in Etch. It'll just automatically do this for you. You have to remember to assign it to the right custom post type. And then featured image is gonna be the native featured image field. Did we really have anything else? CTA text, right? So we'll do add text and we'll say CTA text right there. And then I will save that, okay. And if I go to my classes, no, if I go to classes, we don't want my classes, we want classes. I'm gonna say yoga 1. Oh, watch this. I'm really gonna piss the yoga people off. You ready for this? This is not yet, it's coming, don't worry. This is a description of the yoga class. Okay, I like to do this, it's an opportunity to just randomly this is like a drive-by. It's like, they didn't need this shade, but I'm about to do it because it's entertainment value. This is a description of the yoga class, sign up for yoga. Okay, save, and I'll go back out. Actually, I don't have to go back out. Where's that stupid, no, I do have to go back out. Publish, oh no, it's after you publish, you get the ability. They grant you the ability to add another one at that point. Okay, add new. By the way, this is slow as molasses. Pilates. I just feel like we have to do this. Take the Pilates class because it's clearly better. Yes, let's go. Sign up for Pilates. I've just thrown everything into the mix. This is, people are having breakdowns right now. They're crashing out, as my daughter would say. And I'll put a yoga, we'll put a yoga for the Pilates thing, okay? Let's just do that. We can do whatever we want because I'm streaming and you don't have any control of the stream or the microphone. So this is fantastic. Let's go to yoga and let's do the frog for yoga. All right, let's save there. All right, so I've made my custom post type. I've made my custom fields. I can now go loop through my things. I have to go back into Etch. All right, let's launch Etch. There we go, we're back. Let's see. I'm just checking the chat. All right, we're good. Nobody's crashing out yet. This is good. Okay, there is an icon up here. I'll direct your attention, unfold, fold. You can just open everything real quick if you want to. It's a little shortcut, all right? But check this out. What I wanna do is I want to loop this LI. I don't wanna loop my card. Let's do a pop quiz. Why do I not wanna loop my card? I don't want to loop my card. Why do I not want to loop? This is a little pop quiz. We'll see who can bring it in. Who can bring in the answer? The first one. First one. What do you win? I don't know. I don't know what you win. While you guys answer that, I'm going to right click this and I'm going to say wrap in loop. And notice it's going to create a loop. And we'll check the DOM in just a second, okay? Now it's gonna loop through, if I click on this, you're gonna see it loops through recent posts, okay? I'm gonna click this to open our loop manager. And this loop manager is, it's just amazing. It's amazing. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. First of all, what can you loop? Well, you can loop WordPress sources. You can loop pure JSON data. You will be able to loop third-party APIs very soon. You can see all of your existing loops. You can loop in navigation if you want to. Which is Just awesome. I showed that in a different video. But what I want to do is I want to add a new loop, and I want to call this classes. Okay, I'm going to show you, I'm going to tease just a little bit for you right here too, if you're kind of more on the advanced side of things. Yes, you want to loop the list item. If you looped the card, it would loop inside of the LI and you would have multiple things inside of an LI. That would not be good. You want to loop the LI because that's the item that needs to be looped. Okay, great. We understand. All right. So I'm going to do, notice I wrote classes and I got no output preview. Do you know why that is? Because that's not the ID of the custom post type that I made. And I realized that when the output preview was blank. And if I back that up to single, I suddenly see the entire output of that loop, okay? Which means that I'm looping correctly. Like I'm gonna get data. This is the data. Look, Pilates, there it is. I'm gonna get the data that I would expect. I can also, by the way, see every single key value pair that is available to me via dynamic data. So I don't have to guess. I don't have to be like, oh, I wonder if that's available. No, just go here and it literally tells you also the levels that you're gonna have to drill down to access that data, or what is an object or an array that I might have to loop through with a nested loop, because I do have those as well. Okay, so I see the right output preview. Now, I'm gonna go back and I'm just gonna switch to that. I'm gonna switch to, now I have two classes. Okay? Now, I've already made a component and I have these inputs available to me, right? What do I want to do? Well, let's go to the loop and let's just look here for a second. And you're gonna see it says loop classes as item. That means that by default, you have items in a loop. All of my dynamic data is gonna start with item. Item.title, item.featuredimage, item.whatever, right? But I'm free to change this. And it's very actually helpful to change it, especially if you're gonna be doing nested loop stuff. But for example, I can say class. So I can say loop classes as class. And all that does is it changes the loop to class.title, class.description, class.featuredimage, which is more contextually friendly, right? And accurate. So I'm free to make that change if I want to. You don't have to make that change, but you can do it if you want to. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in and what I wanna do is class.title, right? Pilates Yoga 1. Now, there's gonna be a button you can click and it's gonna go, hey, I noticed you're looping through XYZ. Would you like these keys? And you say, yeah, I'll just pop that one in right there. I want the title, I want the description, I want the featured image. Right now you have to write it, okay? But you will just be able to click, and it will just do it for you, right? But it's a work in progress. I mean, we're not even a year yet, right? All right, so description. I don't remember what I called the thing. I'm gonna guess that it was class description, okay? Class.class description. Yeah, let's go look, okay? This is the great thing about the JSON data right here, right? You can come in and you can see what is available to me. Oh, and by the way, I should do this part, right? ACF, that's why I didn't come in. So the first one is a WordPress data. That's coming from WordPress, class.title, boom. This one, I forgot, because I've been doing native stuff lately in Etch, which you can use meta, you can use, there's a bunch of different things. But ACF, you go .acf. So class.acf.class description, and now you can see that I get my description. And then I can just take that and say, I don't even remember what it was, maybe CTA text or something, CTA text. But again, there you go, sign up for Pilates, sign up for yoga. All right, let's just save there, or we can do the featured image, okay? So, and this is not ACF featured image, that's gonna pull in there. And I'm noticing, oh, the cards, let's just edit that component real quick to fix that problem. So we can go into our image right here and we can say aspect ratio of 1. And that frog, oh, we also need to object fit cover it. Object fit cover, okay? Now we can save. Now we can exit, and now that frog will not break the card because the frog is the wrong aspect ratio, but we just tamed the aspect ratio, so we're good. And notice I didn't have to go anywhere to like fix that. I didn't have to go to component land. Oh, the magic component area. No, you just edit the component. I see a problem with the component, I edit the component. Doesn't that make sense? I thought that made sense, so that's what we do. Okay, so I've got my loop working. Let's go look at our output. We got Pilates, we got yoga, right click. Now, I mean, come on. We've done a component, we've done conditional logic, we put that in a loop. certainly there's got to be wrappers all over the place. There's got to be wrappers all over the place. Negative. There's an unordered list. There's 2 list items instead of 1. There's an article inside of the list item. There's an H3, a P, and a figure and an image, and that's it. There is, again, no evidence that we are looping, no evidence that we are using components, no evidence that we are using conditional logic. It is, your DOM is unharmed, as I like to say. Okay, let's go back to chat. Yes, good question. Can I check somewhere if it is ACF or not? Go back into the loop manager. Go back to your loop. And I think I I don't know if I can search in there, but let's go find it. It's probably toward the bottom somewhere. There you go, right here. Let me zoom in. It's letting you know, hey, from ACF, here is everything coming from ACF. Here's the keys, and that's the value you're gonna get when you put the key in, okay? So yeah, it tells you there's ACF. It says, hey, there's some ACF meta, like anything in here. By the way, if there's something that's another object, you can loop through it with a nested loop, okay? All of that is possible. Are the Etch data attributes used as selectors and are later also on the page? Yes, no. Those are, what we wanted to do is preserve classes for the user. And so the data etch elements section does have default etch styles. It's about 0.00000 KB of CSS. It's the smallest default style sheet you've ever seen in your life. It essentially sets the section to flex column. If you want to not have those styles, you can simply delete that attribute, and notice nothing happened, right? Nothing happened because that's essentially the default behavior of a section anyway. But it does give you access to gap out of the gate. That's really what we wanted, is you should be able to use gaps without constantly resetting flex column. But yeah, that's what's going on there. All right, let's see. Yes, so here's the thing. The way we architected this, it's not like there's a UI. See, oh, by the way, did you see, you can control your real estate here. In every other builder, it's like, hey, do you integrate with ACF? No, we don't do that yet, because our UI is not really set up for that. We got to do special parsing, blah, 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 blah. Etch doesn't care. Etch doesn't care where the data comes from. If it's in WordPress, right? Like this loop or this loop right here, all this is WordPress data. We can pull any of this without any special handling. So if you see it here, like immediately out of the box, when we created nested loops, immediately out of the box, repeaters, relationships, all of those things can be queried with a nested loop out of the box. You can see all the keys and all the values, and you can see the levels you need to drill down to, and you can access it. So yeah, if that data comes from MetaBox, why should we care? If that data comes from Jet Engine, why should we care? Now, if they store the data in some proprietary form or fashion that's not WordPress, now we got to add special handling. But if they put it in WordPress, I mean, it's right there. You can touch it. All right. Can you search in the code panels in the loop panel? Yes. Yeah. You can Command F here. It needs to be styled and such. Ignore the styling for right now, but the functionality is there. Yeah. You can search. You can replace. You can multi-cursor edit. So let me go back to, like, this is super helpful in like here, this H2, if I hit Command D, I'm now selecting both of them at the same time, okay? And I can go back. So yeah, all the normal editing experience that you would come to have in like VS Code or whatever, you kind of have all of that at your fingertips as well. Yeah, you go into the loop manager, you can search in there. This is read only, so I don't think you can search because you can't select inside of there. But we can see what we can do about that. Okay, so we did, look at what we just kind of pieced together, just ranting and raving here, is a custom post type with custom fields from a third-party tool. We built a component, we added props, we added some conditional logic, we looped through it. I mean, it's a casual Wednesday. It's a casual Wednesday. How about conditions within a loop? Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so let's do this. The condition would happen on the item being looped, right? The li, and we have to think of a condition. We have to think of a condition that we would want to put on here. Let's try something. Let's try something on the fly. On the fly. ACF, where are we gonna go? Field groups. The fact that I have to come back in here kind of pisses me off, right? I would rather be doing this inside of Etch. Just put that out there again. I just, once you've lived without magic areas, you come to despise them very quickly. Let's go with, what do they call these? True, false? I wish they were, see, I had to think about that because the entire dev world calls them Booleans, right? But when tools create their own proprietary language for things, you don't know what the hell it's called. And so you got to remember, oh yeah, they call that true, false. Why'd they do that? Why do you think they did? This is what happens when you're thinking about the wrong people, right? Just going to put that out there. Okay, so field label, let's go featured. Featured, how about featured class? Okay, save. All right, so we'll determine is a class feature. Now this is probably a bad way to do this. All of the performance press is going to just come out of their boots right now. You're doing a meta query. This should be a taxonomy. Okay, just chill out. All we're doing is looking at an example. Okay, we're just looking at an example of conditional logic on something. So I'm just going to do that. Right. So Pilates is featured. I want to go back in here so we don't have to look again. So this is just called featured ACF.featured class. And I got to think about this in my head, how we want to approach this. Let's go into pages. Where were we? See, when you get out of the magic area, you got to figure out how to get back into the other area. It's just a big pain in the ass. Okay. So I want to put a condition on this card, right? So I'm just going to wrap that in a condition. And we are going to say class.acf. Featured class. Done. Fucking done. That's it. It's just done. Okay? Done. I go to the front end? Done. Just done. We're only showing featured classes now. Okay? So now if you were going in let's go back here. By the way, let me show you something in Etch. All right, so in the content manager, every custom field that you create, when you go to see your classes, they're going to be exposed as columns that you can inline edit. So I would just be able to toggle any of those right here. Just saying. I wouldn't have to take a trip back here into ACF land, wherever I'm going. Classes, Pilates. Okay, so this one was featured, Pilates, right? Yoga, also a featured class. Save. Wait a minute, what am I doing featuring yoga? We don't like yoga, right? Okay, now they're both featured. Okay. Did that answer your question? Cotog. Curtis, what's the Curtis? Okay, what is the current status for block authoring? I'm building a site at the moment, but not every styles and conditions are reflected the same yet. I know still a work in progress, but was curious. What you should do is go here to known issues, read about the auto block authoring Gutenberg rendering. So static works, components work, component props are in progress of being exposed properly, and all the different types being exposed with their proper input type. After that, we're going to be working on loops and logic, and then we're done. Then everything works. Show the DOM again. Yeah. Right, we added more logic. I mean, certainly there's got to be wrappers. No, there's no wrappers. There's just, again, 2 LIs. And I'll just go back to make the point. If yoga is no longer featured and we refresh, let's be able to see that. See, it's gone. And look, it just, the other LI disappeared. That's it. There's no drama in the DOM. There's no drama in the DOM. Okay. Any goodies for WooCommerce users? Yeah, I mean, the thing is WooCommerce stores a lot of data in WordPress, which means you can already access it. You can already access a price, quantity, blah, 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 blah. We're going to build some helpful WooCommerce elements, some helpful WooCommerce templates. We haven't even looked at templating. We should look at templating next. We got time, right? 3:30. We got 25 minutes left. We should look at templating. Templating is gorgeous. gorgeous in Etch. Okay, we'll look at that. But yeah, you're gonna have templates for Woo. You're gonna have, and then SureCart's coming in. It's e-commerce. This is gonna be the best e-commerce experience you've ever had in your life, because the things that we've already looked at in like re-engineering how these things are done and how they should be done, we're gonna take the same kind of approach to e-commerce. And it's just gonna be fantastic. Okay. You could put the featured ones first. Again, you should do this with a taxonomy. I mean, performance press is correct. You should do this with a taxonomy, right? But if I duplicated that condition and I said not featured, right? It'll essentially loop through and perform these conditions. Now they're in the same grid. I would really need to duplicate the grid, right? And then change the condition. And if I just put a, what's that called? An exclamation mark. Thank you. Thank you, public school. So an exclamation mark, that's essentially the opposite, okay? So this would be not featured. And then I could put a heading above it that says these are not featured and these are featured. You really should do this with taxonomies. You can do it with taxonomies. But as you can see, I just went little duplication, a little exclamation mark, bing, bam, boom. We're rocking the opposite. Okay. What else? Templating. As you can see, this page has no header and it has no footer. It's because our site does not have a header or a footer. We're gonna go to templates and we're gonna see our template manager. We haven't even looked at this yet. We can see miscellaneous, page templates, post templates, class templates, my class templates. I can click here, I can say single class. Here, single my class, okay? You can ignore this one, that was a dummy placeholder. I'm gonna go to the catch-all template because that's the first stop you should make when creating things like headers and footers. You're gonna find a main container in here with a thing called a content slot. That's what pulls everything from WordPress, okay? Let's just, I was keeping my eye on the chat while we do this. We are all waiting on the poetry block, yeah. That one in the back to top are gonna be a while, okay? All right, let's make a header. Let's make a header. I'm gonna add a section element. Why? Because a section element is essentially like a header. If I just change the tag to header, see, I'm free to do that. It's now a header, but it's still got the same kind of structure as a section, which is nice. I can put a, I can just call this, I can call this header, I can call this inner, right? And then inside there, maybe I'll just put in a logo, little SVG. And then what I'll do is right click, well, let's put this as logo. Oh, SVGs, by the way, you can touch all the SVG code. You can even do the strip color attributes right here. If your SVG is malformed and it's got a bunch of like static color values in it, we'll strip those out, replace them with current color, and then you can easily change the colors of your SVGs. But we'll call that logo. And I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna create BEM classes for this. And then we'll just come in and do a little bit of styling. We'll do padding, we'll do space. Let's do XS and then gutter, right? That's 2 variables in a row. I hit tab, auto vars them. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, okay? I've got a little header now. So let's save. Maybe we'll give that a background color. How about we go background of neutral, ultra, no, we'll go neutral, light. That's gonna be a little bit more gray. We're not gonna use any colors today. We're gonna stick with gray. Okay, so I have made a header. Let's go refresh. See my header? See my header? Got a header now. But I would like for that to be a component. Definitely want that to be a component. So I'm gonna right click, create component. I'm gonna hit save. I'm gonna hit exit, and I'm done. I just made a header component. Remember, I don't have to do anything else to it right now. I just need to declare it as a component because anything I wanna do in the future, I am now free to do without leaving any other instances, you know, orphaned, essentially. All right, so I mean, I've got a header component. Let's look at this. I've got a header. I've got a main. I mean, I got an SVG. I mean, what do you want? What do you want? We got a header. Now the thing is, let's say I go, I want to create, you know, well, if I want to create a footer, I'd create that right here as well. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? We'll just go. We'll add a section. We'll call this footer. We'll call this inner. We'll drop some text in here that says Hi, I'm a footer. Yeah, we'll go like BG light on this as well. Oh, wrong one. I'm gonna get rid of that. We wanna be on this one. BG light, bang, there's my footer. Right click, create component, there's my footer. Save that, exit that, save that. Let's go back to the front end. Now we have a footer. Hi, I'm a footer. These are gonna show up everywhere on your website. We will do, how about we do conditional logic with show header, show footer? How about we do that? We could do that if we wanna have fun. What I wanna show you though is if I go to create another template, I don't have to go to like a magic area, right? It's just, everything is at my fingertips. I wanna create one for classes. So I'm gonna say single class, okay? I'm gonna edit that. Look at this. There's my header, there's my footer, it's there. But if I don't want this one to have a footer, I could just delete it. I could delete the header from this template if I wanted to. But what I would rather do is just be smarter than that. Just be more intelligent than that. Just take a step back and say, maybe it's better to control visibility in many cases from an instance level, like per page, per post, whatever, okay? So I could drop back into ACF, which I won't have to do very soon. I'll just be able to do this in Etch. But I'm gonna go ACF. I'm gonna add a new group and I'm gonna say visibility. All right, and I'm gonna assign this to my classes and I'm gonna assign this to pages. Let's just do those two. And I'm gonna come in here and say true, false, okay? True, false, Boolean. And I'm gonna say show header. And I am going to dupe that, bang. Yep. And then this is gonna be show footer, okay, save, nice. So I've got show header, show footer. And essentially what's gonna happen now is if I go to a class, like Pilates, okay? I should have, didn't I assign it to classes? Let's go back to ACF, let's go back to field groups, classes, no, not classes, visibility. Class, my class. Do I need to do an or? Is that the problem? Fuck off ACF. All right, my class, page, there you go. Yeah, they can't be both at the same time. I get it. Okay, classes, Pilates, there we go. Show header, show footer. You can also go, they have this nice little, you know, if you, damn, I keep clicking the wrong one. If you want it to look pretty, you can go to presentation on this and go stylized UI. I like to do that, you know, it feels better. Stylized UI, save. Okay, great. And they also output, I hate it because it's like, they output, I believe, yes, no by default. This should always confuse, like, you called it true, false. You're outputting yes, no. It's a Boolean. It should be either 1, 0 or true, false. Like, what are we doing? Okay. Sorry, I gotta have one rant every 30 minutes. It's my typical pace. I gotta stick with that. Okay. Where do I even wanna go? We need to go back into, you get lost in these fucking magic areas. Just launch Etch. Just get, everything works out when you go into Etch. Okay, I need to get to my header. Let's just go here. Let's just go here. Let's just go here. Let's just edit. There we go. We're just there. We're there. Okay, what I want to do now, because I can have multiple root elements, or because my root element is exposed, it's not the component. You understand? You really have to understand like why this is so flexible. If this was the component, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm about to do, which is wrap the entire header in a condition. All right? So now what is that condition that I want to check? Well, I want to check if, I think we're going to use this here, right? This.acf.show, what is it? Show header, right? Is not equal to, and we want to do the strict one of false, okay? So I'm going to save. We're just experimenting here. We're just playing around here. Let's go to one of those actual posts. Classes, Pilates, open Pilates. There's a header and there's a footer. There's no content on the page. We're gonna open this. Show header. It should be not equal to, this is what's confusing about ACF. I don't know if it's outputting no or yeah. Do I need to check yes, no? Do I need to check true, false? Do I need to check 1, 0? Pain in the ass. There you go. I guessed correctly, okay? And so now show header is no. I really wanted that to be true by default. I didn't set it up that way. But now it actually has data. Let's see, show header, hopefully it comes back. There it is, it's back. So relatively quickly, and that's going to be way easier when you create the Boolean in Etch versus ACF. But relatively quickly, I just gave myself the ability to turn on and off a header on any page. And then I can do the same thing with footer. And now page level I have access to, but I don't lose the ability. Remember this, I don't lose the ability to go in and be like, you know what? On all my classes, we don't want footers on those. Okay. Well, now no classes are gonna have a footer because I just took my footer out of that template. So I do have template level control, but I also have instance level control. That's the most control you can have. And if you're ever like, oh, you should have deleted that, I wanted to get it back. Hey, no problem. You click the little plus sign, you go footer, hey, your footer's back, okay? By the way, let me show you something. Let's not depart without understanding this. That if I go to appearance and I go to editor and I go to templates, there is my index. There is my single class template. Your templates in Etch are authored to FSE land, to FSE templates, okay? Just like look at this. I'm gonna go into patterns and I'm gonna go to there's my footer, there's my header, there's my card. They're authored to synced patterns in the pattern library, okay? So all of this is core WordPress. Every inch of this is core WordPress that we're doing today. Just with way, way, way more functionality and actual development experience in terms of the UX. How would you write the conditional logic for a props equal to a custom field? Can we use and or functionality in conditional logic? Yes. You can do ands, you can do ors. You're gonna be able to do else very soon. Yeah, there's really no limitation there. All right. I'm trying to, let me get to questions because we're limited time. We gotta switch over to question mode. Oh, there's a lot more. Okay. Why we make the header a component? You make the header a component because it's gonna exist across multiple templates and you don't wanna have to go template by template by template every time you make a change to your header. So you make it a component. Therefore, in every template, it's a component and you have a single source of truth for editing your header. Is Etch gonna have something like ACF options pages? 100%, 1000%. How would Etch integrate SureCart? Would that be similar as Woo or is different approach? Same for North Commerce. Well, SureCart's a little different because they have their own like, well, I mean, you go to Etch WP and we're gonna go to the pricing page, right? So let's go to buy Etch. Let's go to the logged out version too. All the perf matters and all the caching shit, it really makes the, well, we got to get past Cloudflare. Oh, did I go to the login page? I don't want to go to the login page. There we go. Okay. So go to buy Etch. There we go. Now we're fast again. So if this is SureCart right here that you're looking at. Now this was all built in Etch, but when you click to actually buy, this is SureCart. This comes from the block editor. Etch renders the block editor without breaking it. So anything that renders in the block editor is going to render on your website. If you put a block in a page that was built with Etch, that block is going to pass through and it's going to show up in that area, but Etch is not going to touch it. Etch is not going to break it. It'll just pass through. The entire site is rendered with the block editor, right? That's the thing. Etch is not, it doesn't have a proprietary rendering engine. The website is rendered with Gutenberg, with WordPress. That's it. We just manipulate it. We take away all the bullshit and we output what you asked it to output. So yeah, this is, right now I'm using SureCart with Etch. Look, Etch doesn't have a countdown timer. You know how I made this countdown timer? Here, we can go look at this. Let's get out of incognito. I'll open this and then I want to go back and answer one more question. I'm not even logged in. Okay. We don't need to take a look at, well, yeah, we do need to take a look at it because I didn't talk about JavaScript yet. So let's go log in. All right. Yep. We do need to take a look at, let's just launch Etch. Which version is this, by the way? Can I go to where I need to? I don't think this doesn't have the version where I shouldn't even bother. Let me go back out. You see how when you have to do it without the
inline workflow, you realize how much it really sucks. It's like, see, I got to go back out and I got to find it in the list. Okay, we're going to go to pricing. Okay. All right, while we do that, let's close some tabs. We're going to go, don't need that anymore. I get too tab heavy, I get lost in what we're doing. Okay, that we're going to keep open. This is Etch site. This is the builder. Okay, let's take a look at our countdown timer. So what I did, I went to Claude because I didn't want to bother with making a fucking countdown timer. Who wants to bother with that? And we don't have a countdown element. I went to Claude and I was like, Claude, I need a countdown timer element. Give me the clean HTML. Use BIM in the class naming conventions. Give me vanilla CSS with nesting, and then give me the JavaScript for it in vanilla JavaScript. And it said, here you go, here you go, here you go. And I went paste, 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 and then I did some styling to it, and voila, we have a countdown timer. So it wrote all the JavaScript. We don't have a JavaScript block. It's important for you to understand that JavaScript lives with the element that you attach it to, which means that everything is going to be nice and portable. This is also something that the block editor doesn't have. It's something a lot of things don't have. When we have component import export, the CSS, the JavaScript, everything that's needed for that component or that pattern or whatever will just come with it, right? So the JavaScript attaches to this thing. And that's very, very, very handy. There's no extra block that I have to keep track of or remember to have in there, and the block position doesn't matter. We handle the JavaScript for you properly. And so this functional working countdown timer, which I had no care in the world to build whatsoever, took me about 3.5 minutes and a little conversation with Claude. So because you have access to code, you don't have to wait for things. Like, you don't have to sit and go, Kevin, please, can we have a countdown timer element? Kevin, please, I really need one. Okay, well, if you need one, just someone can make it for you, or you can make it and just put it in there and it works. You don't have to, will there be one? Yeah, at some point there will be one, but you don't have to wait. You don't have to beg. You have a pathway to doing whatever you need to do right now. So yeah, that's how that works. Same thing with these switches. Do you think we don't have a tabs component? I just made a tabs component, right? Let's go to tabs. Here it is, right? Pricing tabs. There's all the JavaScript for it. There's all the CSS nested. There's your clean HTML for it. Here's the other set of it. They switch back and forth. It's fantastic. So you could do a lot right now. You can do a lot. You can do a lot. Is it possible to move, shuffle the props we create? Very, very, very soon it will be. Very soon. Will there be a maintenance mode setting? You don't have to do maintenance mode. You can literally use, you could use a template to do it. There's a lot of pathways to doing maintenance mode. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's there would be an official maintenance mode or something that's like a one-click kind of thing, but everybody wants to design their maintenance mode page anyway. I don't know. So we have to think about it. It's not a high priority. It's like a icing on the cake type thing. Is there any difference between slot content and this.content? Yeah, this.content pulls, I do think it pulls differently. I do think it pulls differently than a slot. Is Etch gonna have something like ACF option? Okay, we already did that one. I like this one. Is the future AI integration included on any of the current plans, or is it a paid upgrade for everyone? Any ideas on what the AI upgrade pricing will look like? I have no idea what the pricing will look like. It will be an upgrade as far as like using the latest model, maybe. And you know, we've got a couple AI consultants that we're already talking with, and none of this is set in stone. So I want to talk more about how AI works inside of Etch. So there will be an LLM that is essentially, I'm using Dia, and I really do like this interface and this experience, I should say. Let me get back into local. Okay, let's go here. Let's go launch Etch. Let's get back to here. So I love the fact that I can open up essentially a sidebar chat, just like you would do in Cursor or any other good LLM tool that has knowledge essentially of what I'm doing over here. And when I click on things, I don't know how reactive it is inside of Etch.
I want a better heading for this page. Now, this is not really, I mean, yeah, obviously, see it says copy. Sometimes it says insert, right? And if it says insert, it would just put it there. And that's essentially kind of the experience I think we should build inside of Etch, where this should be native inside of Etch to the point where I'm chatting with it over here and it's aware of everything that's going on the page. It's aware of everything that's going on in your database. And it's aware of the interface to where if I ask it for HTML, it says, here's your HTML, and I go insert, and it puts it here, right? Or I say, I want the CSS, and I'd say insert, and it puts it in the CSS panel. And if I come up here and I say, hey, my structure panel is not organized. I want you to organize my structure panel. And it looks at the content that you put in, and I go click, and it goes, and it redoes the labels of your structure panel. And then I right click and go create BIM classes. And then it creates the BIM classes. So like, it's kind of like my partner in crime, but it's trained on the interface and it can interact with the interface. I think that is gonna be the best way to do it. So you're gonna be able to ask for HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, pop open the loop editor, right? So you go new loop right here, and I go, I don't want any of this shit. I hop over here and go, I want a loop. I want to loop through classes, but only if they're in the, oh, I didn't show you guys something else. Hold on, I gotta show you something else. Only if they're in the featured category, right? And then I hit dit, and it gives me, it's not gonna know what's going on right now, right? Oh, it actually kind of does. It got close, right? But it gives me something workable, and I go insert, and it populates this area right here. This is why you don't necessarily wanna go hyper UI for some of this stuff, because you need AI to continue to be able to interact with it, because that's the fucking future, right? I don't wanna write these myself. Let's delete this one. Check this out. See this 10 right here? Because some of you looking at this, if you're an elite thinker, you're gonna be like, wait, if that says 10, am I gonna have to create another loop for like when I want 3? And another loop for like when I want just 1? And another loop for when I want it to be featured, and another loop for, oh my God, I'm gonna be in class loop hell. No. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna say count, okay? So I'm gonna take this, right? I just made myself a little token. Just, hey, let's just make a little token. We understand tokens, right? Okay, let's go out of there. Let's go into our classes loop right here. Loop classes as class, right? Okay. Now it's doing featured shit. Remember we put conditions on here and featured. But if I pass the count, okay, on an instance level now, I choose what the count is. Now I can go back in and we could say like, if I was doing a tax query, I can use another token for the tax query. And then I can even insert dynamic data as the value for that token, right? So mad flexibility here, which means I only ever need to make one loop essentially. You make one loop and then you plug in some tokens and you can do whatever you need to do on a loop by loop basis using those tokens. Very, very, very powerful stuff. Okay, but this is kind of the AI experience that I think is going to be natively inside of Etch. Okay, let me go back to chat. I got to bounce back and forth between chat and questions. Okay. Yes, I agree. Down the road, will you be able to use props everywhere? So you've never been able to use JavaScript in CSS, but we do want to make it possible if it is possible. We are looking at that. We are interested in that for sure. So yeah, I would be able to have whatever prop on here and essentially pass it into the CSS editor, and it would somehow magically come out the other side correct. That is something we are looking at, yes. Thanks for joining, Max. Appreciate it. Okay. I'm rebuilding an old website. The amount of BS to show hide elements it had. Can't believe how it could be built with custom fields and props. Easy to do things with Etch. Yes. If you turn the countdown into a component, can you add props to set the countdown time? Do props work in the JS box? Yeah, you should be able to do that. Yes.
Okay, we answered that one. We answered that one. We answered that one. We're kind of up against time, so. There's a lot of questions about frames working with Etch. Like, yeah, for sure. Go eat dinner, DeHunzi. Don't get in trouble with the wife, you know? When will there be a developer API? The Elements API will be the first API for developers so they can create custom components in Etch. There's, before that though, component import export. So literally you could just create components and sell them and people can just import them. You don't even need elements for them essentially. They'll show up in the components library. But then the Elements API will come in. Oh, Figma files. Okay, good reminder. Let's go look at some CSS inputs. I know beginners and intermediates are very, sorry, Figma has a conniption fit every time because we have maxed out. If you see the file, let me, there's so many sandboxes in here, but if you see the entire file, look at this. Figma doesn't know what to do with itself. We have maxed out Figma's capacities. Look how things are going on here. Okay, let's find, this is just Tommy's sandbox file. This isn't even the rest of it. Okay, let's go into here. I think this is important to look at though. Okay, so this is like in a glimpse of what's coming. So this is much more friendlier, obviously, for setting things like display and direction and wraps. This is nothing that you haven't seen before, really. It's just cleaner. So let's keep moving. Oh, I will say, you know, one thing that we've kind of engineered a little bit here. Let me turn on the CSS. I will tell you right here, this little layout, you know, the typical accordion thing, that was the first thing we wanted to get rid of. Like, nope, no, we've seen that experiment run enough. Look at the speed at which you can go through these categories, right? You don't have to scroll up and down endlessly. That's scrolling hell that everybody is constantly in these tools. Oh, by the way, if you hit hide interface, you can just make everything go away real quick. But this is like lightning. This is lightning quick. Okay, so that's number one. Let's go back in. I want to look at the color stuff. What we're doing with color. Let me zoom out a little bit. Let's find, just looking at the background panel itself would be a good one to do. There's a lot of these. Here's an example of what variables will look like inside of your inputs, okay? Nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's find find colors. Where is base? Maybe I zoom out. I can find. Here we go. Let's find something fun to look at. Starting with this. So when you go to like the background panel, for example, we put a lot of thought into this. There was a lot of arguments. There was a lot of fights. There was a lot of bloody noses and black eyes. And I got the jujitsu background. I come out on top a lot. Okay. No, I'm just saying. There's a lot of back and forth on this stuff. Backgrounds, if you don't know, you may not, if you've used other builders, you don't know because they don't do this because they dumb everything down for you. But the background property in CSS is insanely powerful and flexible. It can have multiple values of different types, like an image on top of a color, on top of a gradient. It's unlimited, the flexibility. But the builders don't give you access to that flexibility. They do all this convoluted bullshit. Whereas like if it's an image, they output background image. And if it's a gradient, it's background image with a linear gradient. But then you can really only do one at a time because it's not great. So we're gonna output just the standard background property. You're gonna be able to layer whatever you wanna layer. You start with one layer because the most, like 95% of the time, 90% of the time we'll say, the use case is, I just wanna set a background color, Kevin. My God, just make it easy to set a background color. Okay, that's what this does. So by default, when you go to background, you can go right to color, boom, done. You set a color, done, okay? Variable first workflow, but you'll be able to do custom. I'll show you in just a second. But that's like, you gotta be able to do that quick. Not a lot of clicks, not a lot of complexity. But if you want to do complexity, you can start to get into more complexity. Here's an example of color variable already set. You're just gonna choose your variable, okay? If you don't have one, you can create one. Good, easy, nice and easy. Let's go to the next screen. There you go. Do you wanna color mix something? You've never been able to do this in a builder before. Never been able to, we're asking again, how do you innovate a professional workflow? Well, you do the new shit, right? New shit is color mix. So valuable. I am absolutely abusing color mix. Abusing color mix. It's so good. Color mix is so good. You're gonna be able to mix your colors right here, okay? Let's go forward. Hey, you want a gradient? You can grab a gradient. Remember, this is just in background layer 1, whatever you wanna do here for background layer 1. Here's a linear gradient. Here's a radial gradient or a conic gradient, I think that was. Okay, here's custom. You can put in a custom value, HSL, hue, saturation, lightness, OKLCH, RGB, whatever floats your boat. Now, let's get into images. Because you can also choose image here. So you can have a color as a background, you can have an image as a background. You can do static, you can do dynamic, you can do external. You got all your stuff down here. Nice and clean, okay? Really, really nice. Now think about what if I had like a background image, but then I want a transparency on top of it, okay? Well, you choose your image right here, then you hit add new layer, and then you choose a transparent color, and voila, it's done. Got an overlay, okay? Or that overlay can be a gradient, or it can be a color mix, or it can be whatever you want to do. But you have the ability to just bang, 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 layer, 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 put it on. And you don't have to go straight to like pseudo class overlays and all that other nonsense that a lot of builders force you into doing. So you have a lot of flexibility here. And yeah, this is gonna be like, we're gonna put a lot of time and attention into that style panel. And remember, don't forget here, everything you do here is authored to CSS. It like editable, viewable, CSS that you could then go, okay, thank you for doing that. Now I'm gonna go take over. That's fine too. You can do it that way. Or you can just live in these panels. If you wanna live in these panels, that's fine too. But that's an example of like we're engineering this stuff because you can't copy anybody because nobody else has done it right. So we have to kind of figure out everything from like, what is truly the best way to do this and do it from scratch. Okay. Color stacking is possible. Yeah. If it's possible in CSS, it's gonna be possible in Etch. All right, we got to get out of here. I think we're past the 2-hour mark. I do thank you for showing up today. I don't even know what kind of numbers we pulled. I think we were over 200 at some point, which is 185 right now or somewhere around there. I hope you guys got what you came for. I hope you like feel comfortable enough to start poking around inside of Etch. It does. If you don't have ACSS, because I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna go back. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm just gonna uninstall ACSS. So let's go into plugins. And people say like, hey, don't start with a framework. Like you should learn how to do it from scratch. Dude, the fucking nightmare that CSS is to do from scratch for a project. Nobody does that. Nobody in their right mind. Everybody uses a framework. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they use ACSS. They might use their own framework. They might use Tailwind. But nobody in their right mind that's a professional just fucking free balls it. Okay, raw dogs it. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. They don't go, oh, I'm starting from scratch on this project, baby. Nobody does that. You uninstall this, right? Shit just goes to hell. Like you're gonna open and you're gonna be like, there's no spacing, there's no typography, there's no colors, there's no what? Yeah. You don't have a framework. It's a blank project. That's what it is, a blank project. If you don't want a blank project, start with it's so much easier to start with a framework. And then I would recommend starting with a framework that educates you and teaches you and does the right things in the right way for you, doesn't do things the wrong way. That's very important. But like so much would have to be done by hand. And that's not an Etch problem. That is a web design problem. Like you're complaining about web design. So don't get the two twisted. Don't open Etch and be like, oh man, so much starting from scratch. Yeah, it's what it is. It's a blank project. That's your fault. You're not starting with a framework. You start with a framework. Okay, now you're not starting from scratch. Now we're in business. Now we can just start building. Now we're good to go. That's what a framework does for you. So don't come in here with no framework and be like, man, Etch is so, you gotta do so much work. It's just web design, dog. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Use a framework. I do know what to tell you. All right, I'm out. I'll see you guys again soon. We'll do many more of these. At least once a month, we'll be in here doing a live stream. Probably more frequently than that. Documentation is going. Support community is going. Grab your copy. People are looking at the pricing. They might go, man, I wish I got in when it was 1,000. I wish I got in when it was unlimited. Yeah, well, if you're like, shucks, and then you keep waiting, I mean, you look up in January, it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. It only gets worse. Like it's going to be less licenses. It's going to be more expensive. There's going to be no LTD. It just gets worse from here. So if you haven't got in yet, and I will tell you to this day, ACSS has been out for like 4 years, okay? I still get letters. Kevin, is there any way? 2 years ago, you had this price. Is there any possible way? They're begging. And I don't like getting those letters. And I don't like having to tell them, like, well, you should have signed up 2 years ago. Like, people, they learned their lesson. So I don't want you to learn the hard way. You can learn the easy way by listening. You can learn the hard way. It is not, people are like, Black Friday's coming up. Let's just wait, because Black Friday's coming up. Wait, watch what happens on nothing's going to happen on Black Friday. We did this with Frames. We did this with ACSS. It is a company policy that there is never going to be a deal better than the deal you can get now. So when we've done Black Fridays in the past, we've done Black Fridays, but they were never better than the things that happened before that Black Friday. People got like things like it's usually we're about to raise the prices or get rid of this thing. This Black Friday is your last chance to get it. That's usually what happens on a Black Friday. But it's not gonna be like 80% off that's not gonna happen. It's not even gonna be 20. It's not even gonna be 10. It's not gonna be anything. It never gets better than it is today. So that's it. Love you guys. Peace.